All right. Welcome everybody to Mental Health Awareness. Thank you for joining us on this episode on May 15th, 2023. This is another episode of Jaws Coffee Chat. Today, we're here with our fearless leader, Jennifer A. Whitaker. And I'm Elizabeth.
Hey.
And I'm Elizabeth Oberkirsch, my VA Admin Services. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe to our social media pages, our groups, our YouTube channel, or wherever it is you found out about us. We'd like to give a special thanks to Lawrence Wingate of Wingate TV, Marcus Hart of Transform You Media, Zach Clayton of the PAC channel, and Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel. All of these people for replaying our shows on their platforms. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Jennifer A. Whitaker. Take it away.
Hey, everybody. It's another day, another time. Let's get this party started.
Woohoo!
So, we are going to start talking today about the reality of mental health awareness. And it's sometimes confusion with some other things. So last time we hit you up with the idea that it could be allergies. But have you wondered however many other things it could be beyond allergies and beyond being actual mental illnesses? Or what if it's a mix of both? You have mental illness, but the reason for the different types of episodes has to do with something different. For many of us as women, it's that time of the month in our cycle. Often they say that our medications, whatever works for us the other 3 days, the other 3 weeks of the month, is processed, and with our body on the cycle, then there's our different chemicals related to our medication, our supplements, and other things that are escaping as we, so to say, let loose for whatever, how many days and however heavy during our cycle. Okay, so then that leaves the guys. Okay, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, with the guys, let's go to something that we all have in common. And that's called brain health. So some people don't realize that they have neurological conditions. Like, how many people actually know they have Alzheimer's? How many people actually knew when they were in their 30s, 40s, and on up and started to have a harder time remembering stuff, that was an early sign of dementia or Alzheimer's? And that they actually needed to do more brain exercises to prevent it or to strengthen their brain muscles. So then there's things like that that's neurological. How about other things that have to do with the other side of neurology, like seizures and migraines? So many people say they black out, but they may not know if they have epilepsy. So many people have headaches, but they may not know if they actually have migraines. There are so many things in these fields that also have common symptoms. They're generally labeled as mental illnesses. So whichever of the three you have, the three neurological, and then the one that's to us females. So that's 4 possible things you could have going on. Sorry, man, you can only have 3 going on. But us women, we have 4 possible issues we can have happening when we go through irritability, depression, low mood, loss of interest in certain things we used to find interesting, entertaining, our hobbies, our job, things we used to have as a drive, things we used to have that was a motivation, an inspiration, all kinds of different reasons we were interested in those certain things, whether it was hobby, it was your career, or it was even a chore around the house. How many times do we even reach a point where we're like, I just don't care about the laundry anymore. I'm just so sick and tired of doing it. It's a life skill, and we want clean clothes. We're probably going to be some of the first to complain that, oh my gosh, I don't even have a single outfit to wear. What am I going to do? Well, you should have done laundry a week ago.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
I know, right? But in spite of all that, it's that we often blame ourselves, or that the first thing we complain about is something we ourselves let happen. But this is not a reason to go after yourself and to start self blaming. This is a reason to identify that, yes, it could be a mental health problem going on, like depression, or like some people I know with schizophrenia who actually had say that there's a low mood, even though it's not called depression, there's still a low mood that could be happening. There's others with PTSD that have flight mode. Bipolar actually has depression, but it's not the same as clinical depression because it also has a higher mood of irritability and anxiety and stuff like that, and like rage and stuff. But whatever is that category, that certain type of diagnosis, we may be struggling with that low mood, but how many times have we actually recognized that it could show up in these other ways and not necessarily the mental health condition itself, even if the mental health condition is making those certain other things worse? But I gave the idea to EJ. I'm having burnout. Okay, well, I'm not really motivated. I'm not really interested in my job. I'm kind of like, what am I even doing here? But I have self discipline, but that doesn't mean I'm not burnt out where I've been working so much that I'm just at blah. As they say,
Right.
look up articles of what's burnout. We've been working so much and we can get just exhausted. So we were just like, I've had enough of this. Give me a break. And we can even get irritable. But that doesn't mean we have a mental health problem versus, in this case, the burnout of a common problem since the pandemic where so many people are working from home. So employers are even expecting them to work more hours because, oh, they don't need time to get to work because they got this additional hour and a half to do the work. All they got to do is sit in the chair with their coffee. I mean, they don't have to get to work after all, right? So that's another hour and a half of work in the morning, another hour and a half of work at night. But then what does that end up doing? Causes burnout because instead of that 8-hour day, assuming it's a full-time job, you have an additional 3 hours, so it's an 11-hour day. Okay, more work means more exhaustion because especially for a lot of us that have desk jobs, that's more activity, more stress on our brain. And it's a lot easier to get tired from your brain being overused than from your body being overused. Because a lot of us, we could go run a mile and we may be physically exhausted. We could have an entire conversation or podcast going on at the same time because our brain is perfectly ready to work. But that's not the case because if you have brain exhaustion from burnout, you can't do anything else because your brain has to tell the rest of your body to do that whatever else, to moving your leg to run or whatever. So we got a lot of different things right here that I've named that could all be going on, whether it's those of us that think maybe I do have mental illness, or those of us that I know I have a mental illness, but is that really why I'm going through this experience in life? And the reality is, it's not always a mental illness that's causing these things. And if we don't research it, then there's a possibility we may not know who to seek to get the proper help. Like, if it's not depression and say that's burnout, I don't need to go see a psychiatrist to drug me up to basically work myself to death. But on the other hand, if it is depression, I need to get on an antidepressant so I'll be able to function at what's my normal level. That's the healthy me. So that's not to say seeing doctors are a bad thing, like it's a total black and white picture. But if we don't know and we don't research what are the possibilities of what's going on and figure out for ourselves based off what we know and we find, then we can't necessarily figure out well, which kind of doctor do I need to see? Or, in the case we can't figure that out because there's 5 different things that can be caused by the same 5 symptoms we're experiencing, go see your primary care doctor and let him or her, that primary care, tell you, I think it's this or this. And then say, okay, so which doctor do I need to see if it's problem A or problem B? And they may tell you one specific type of specialist, or they may tell you 2 different specialists. But see that and let them figure out what's really going on. But that still requires us to take the initiative to recognize some of these things, like losing interest in our hobbies, losing interest in driving our jobs, getting to a point of blah, like I just don't care, or feeling overwhelmed, stress that seems excessively stressful when your workload is the same, and even analyzing that to say, well, if I feel stressed, has my workload changed, or is it my perception of it? Okay, if it really is heavier, you got a real problem to deal with, and you might need to go to your boss or try to set some priorities on which tasks you give more importance. If you are one of those that works for somebody and you can't decide what's your timeline, somebody else does, you may have to prioritize the ones that have shorter timeline and delay those that have longer timeline for you to get them done. But still, we've got to take some kind of action. The first is identifying that there is a problem, and does it fall under mental health? Meaning we need to see our psychiatrist or our therapist or our psychologist. Or is it that we have something else going on that has similar symptoms, but something far away across the other side of the earth?
Yep.
I mean, how extreme different can these things all get to be? Like the burnout thing that, I don't know, are you experiencing that right now? The burnout?
It's hard for me to say. I'm actually relating to a lot of what you're saying, because I'm not so much burned out as I am overwhelmed, because I have so many different facets going on in my life. The end of school projects and stuff that we've got going on in different groups, my business, my husband's health, and then you add on my own mental health, PTSD, as well as chronic fatigue with lupus. So I've got a lot of different things. So it's kind of hard for me to tell which one it is, like just like you're talking about. But I don't think it's burnout, because I'm really jazzed about everything that I'm doing right now. So it's probably more just the so many pots on the stove at one time, trying to balance it all.
Well, then it could be acknowledging whether it's that time of the month, and if that could be part of it, or if you possibly have other things like your PTSD and you're in flight mode. So flight mode, we tend to run away from different things and not necessarily find them interesting anymore, but it's not actual depression.
Right.
And then there's the consideration of, like, you remember lately we've been talking about my allergies, and with my allergies, I've been sleeping even 15 hours a night. Like, I just cannot get out of bed. And I even reached a point, I was telling my therapist, I look forward to, after I've woke up for the morning, the evening coming to do my Bible study and go right back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, I said, do you think I'm depressed? She said, no, I think you're battling with your allergies and that they are so irritated because I'm on day 9 of day 10. I have to go without my allergy medicines to do so that they can do that allergy assessment exam this tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And as more of these days go by, she's like, I think just your allergies are more and more flared up, and your brain and body are overwhelmed trying to fight the inflammation and everything else that comes with allergies being irritated.
Yep.
Because you got your allergens or you don't have your defense against it.
Right.
So then there's stuff like that that's, okay, well, if I just have no energy, well, that doesn't mean I'm depressed. But when I don't have energy, I'm not really interested in getting my job done because I don't feel like I have the energy to be able to do it.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
You
for
get
the
the
long.
twist of where all these are going.
Yep. It used to be that
We
it
could
was
see it
probably
as a
my.
mental illness, but then there's the reality that, yeah, go ahead.
It's like I probably have had lupus in my life for many, many, many years, but because the PTSD started when I was 12, 13, but it wasn't PTSD then, it was just depression and anxiety, then everything that I had, fatigue, all these other things that were probably part of the lupus were just blamed on the depression or the PTSD once it was diagnosed. Because the lupus was the last thing to be diagnosed because it
Right.
carries so many of these other
So the
components with it.
so the reality of what you and I have gone through, EJ, is where we have some kind of catch-all because of through our lifetime we've had all these long lists of different diagnoses or the symptoms of unknown diagnosis to where we always had a catch-all.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is to blame on that one. But the
Exactly.
reality was not even that one was really well understood,
Exactly.
whichever one it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I may have told you how I had in elementary and even preschool through even grad school where I was considered special needs and I got the disability office's advisor as well as a letter of accommodation and all these other things while I was in honors classes. Well, they always had the catch-all, and mine was other health impaired. Because go back to my days, and the only thing they knew I had was epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
So my PTSD, they tried to write off as being bipolar.
Wow.
But if I was bipolar, why was I having anxiety as high as opposed to mania?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then all these other things that they're like, where people like my therapist I meet in person often see that I don't have an easy time looking them in the eyes. And nowadays we know that's a symptom of Asperger's.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other things like that, like where you'll notice sometimes I don't pick up on cues the way normal people do. And I'm like, what do you mean such and such? Well, I mean, I'm asking for clarity because I don't get it. But the fact that I don't get it to some people is a sign that I still struggle to some degree with my Asperger's. That's the communication barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different things like that. But then again, it was all blamed as other health impair and a catch-all that's now Asperger's in addition to PTSD and epilepsy and migraines and everything else in my 3-page long list.
Right.
But it's like you said, all just catch-all of something. Mine was just other health impaired. They're like, something's wrong with her. We have no idea.
Yep. Yep. They tried to label me with narcolepsy.
Something's wrong with this girl. She's not right.
They tried to come up with narcolepsy on me, but that wasn't it. They blamed it in it.
Narcolepsy's falling asleep.
Yeah, and I would be taking notes in the class. I was one of the teacher's pets, and so I would be in the front row of classrooms, but I'd be taking notes and I'd fall over asleep. My handwriting would go off the side of the page. I could still hear the teacher, so I wasn't fully asleep, but I was exhausted and just passing out. So they tried to figure out if it was narcolepsy, and it wasn't. It was so borderline. They were like, nah, maybe, but no. Turns out that was probably part of the lupus showing its head. But they just blamed it on the depression because that was the
So
only thing that
lupus
I had.
causes you to black out then.
It doesn't cause you to black out. It can cause extreme fatigue. And my extreme fatigue mixed
But is it
with
where you're always like half asleep as
no,
being,
no,
are you always half asleep as opposed to fully asleep like nighttime?
no. No, I can go fully asleep. I can get into deep sleep. I can get into REM. All of that is just, I never wake up refreshed. Never. I can sleep for 12 hours and still wake up feeling
Interesting.
exhausted.
So what do you do about that? Do you drink like caffeine or do you take vitamin B12? Like what do you do that could help our listeners if they have, extreme fatigue, whether it's work induced or it's something similar, or it's like with me, my lack of an entire brain and being only a partial brain now, and so my brain can handle less at a time before I'm exhausted and so forth.
Right. For me, it was getting
So
my
what would you recommend?
for me it was getting my body and body chemicals all in a line, getting the enzymes and the right nutrients, as well as some medication for the lupus. Um, I don't know exactly how that medication worked in, but it did help. And then once I was able to get started back towards feeling better, then I was able to get my exercise going because I was just too tired to exercise. But once I got that going and I was able to get the proper supplements for vitamins, minerals, cellular level things, trying to do a more holistic diet, all of that, then I was able to work out more and lose weight, and that helped balance everything. So it all ebbed and flowed together. But it started with basically getting a medication just to jumpstart my immune system to staying level instead of trying to attack everything in my body, which was just causing my body to overwork, therefore causing the extra fatigue. Plus, I had a little bit
So I
of
have a
restless
question. What were
leg.
some of those supplements you used?
What I ended up using were, it was from doTERRA essential oils, and they're all natural, plant based. Um, it's called Lifelong Vitality. And it's just, it was a concoction of all different sorts of minerals and vitamins, cellular, plant based items that all work together and just kind of got my body balanced. No matter what I ate, it wasn't enough, and it
Is there a
helped
way
with the
you can
absorption.
go to that website? Is there a way you can go to that website while you're streaming and also show the website to viewers that see us on video?
I might be able to. Let's see if I can finagle that.
That vitality, whatever
Lifelong,
supplement that
yeah,
you said.
lifelong vitality.
I'm curious about it. I'm sure our listeners are too.
Let's see if I can get
What?
there. Let's see if I can get there. It's called Lifelong Vitality from doTERRA Essential Oils. Let's see if I can get it pulled up here. There we go. Don't want to do that.
Be sure to share your screen
Yep,
if you are able to do that
yep. It's coming. It's on
with
the live stream.
Restream.
Yeah, restream. You may not be able to see it right away. Let me see. Oh, you're testing me, girl. You're testing my abilities here. Share screen.
Can you make it? Huh?
We'll see. All right. I believe it's showing on the recording. Can you see it? Can you see my shared screen
I see it on
on
Zoom.
Zoom?
Yes, I see your share screen on Zoom.
I'm not sure it's going to show
Now
through.
just double check that people can see it on the yeah, make sure people can see your screen on the restream before we get talking about this.
There it is. Okay, now I've got it. Okay, so it's this daily vitality right here. Um, and it's XE Omega and VMZ, which basically some of the primary benefits are antioxidant and DNA protection, energy for metabolism, bone health, immune function, stress management, cardiovascular health, um, healthy hair, skin, and nails, eye, brain, and nervous system. It's the Essential Nutrition Microplex and Exi Omega together as a convenient pack of at a reduced price. I don't know how to explain it other than it helps with all of these different things.
But do you see if it shows a picture of the ingredients that says what are the supplements in each bottle? I don't know if they have those pictures or they have further down the list where it shows the nutritious facts.
I'm not seeing it on here.
Did you scroll all the way down?
Yeah.
Because sometimes on stuff like Amazon,
Here we go. Here's a more detailed version. It's a blend of essential antioxidants, vitamins A, C, and E, selenium, a mineral with complex of B vitamins. It contains botanically delivered or derived peppermint, ginger, caraway, combined with different digestive enzymes. All using sodium lauryl sulfate free vegetable capsules. It supports healthy metabolism and cellular energy, bone health with calcium, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D. It just is a wealth of things that your body needs, and they're all plant-based, so it's all natural. And so our bodies recognize it as what is normally in our body.
Oh, but I did see a lactase. So for those that are lactose intolerant, this wouldn't be a good option.
Not necessarily. I was lactose intolerant, but once I got the enzymes balanced in my gut, it balanced it out to where I can have milk and ice cream. And I wasn't able to for years. But now I can because
But what about those
are,
that this is then again something I have to say being my mom that's an RN, which is that if those of you who are listening are lactose intolerant or have an allergy that causes you to go into anaphylaxis, in other words, to stop breathing, do not try this.
Correct. Yes.
Because we do not want anything to happen to you.
From that aspect, yes, you're right.
So in that sense, we would advise you not to risk it if you have anaphylaxis or anything else that causes you to stop breathing and or is otherwise life-threatening. Because we're here to try to help you get better, not to cause any harm.
Yeah.
Just as Proverbs 31 says.
Definitely. I mean, you even got this portion here, includes whole food botanical blend of kale, dandelion, parsley, kelp, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and spinach, all within a little tablet, a little capsule. So it really helped me get regular vitamins, chemical vitamins, synthetic, things like that, never helped me at all. I never found any. I tried multivitamins. I tried fancy vitamins, expensive whole food vitamins. This was the only one that ever seemed to ignite with my body chemistry the way it needed to be for whatever reason. So you've got to work around to find the one that works for you. And this one was what worked for me.
Will you tell people the price for how many, what's the quantity, and for how much?
Let's see. It is, get you back on screen here. It is $79 for the 3 sets of the Vitality supplements. And that is taking about half the recommended. So it lasts me for 2 months. depending on how your body functions with it. It could be it's sold as a 30-day supply, but like I said, mine lasts for about 2 months because I don't need the full dose, the full amount that they recommend.
Which sounds to be like those who have a higher degree of different abnormalities that this helps would probably need a higher dose versus those who have smaller degree of abnormality in ways this helps, that they probably need a smaller dose and it lasts longer.
Possibly, yes.
Like I know with like mine, I take collagen, and the collagen I do for skin health and nail health, brain health, like other things that hair health. I mean, other things that helps with. But what they say to take, I take just one tablet at whatever frequency. I never take 2 tablets, 3 tablets, or whatever. That's what they actually say. So I start with one.
Exactly.
And 2 weeks later, I'm seeing whatever benefit that is from that certain supplement. And I always mark, the certain day I start taking that supplement, what is it that's my reason to take it? The symptoms or the issues or the whatever, right?
Right.
And then I mark literally 2 weeks later, 14 days later on my calendar, and I mark, are you having trouble with, and then let's say sleeping or whatever, but based on what's the symptoms that I need that supplement. And if when that 2-week journey comes around and I'm looking at those questions, if I'm like, I don't have any of those issues, then I see that I wrote on there, keep taking like whatever's the supplement from now on.
Right. Exactly.
But how many of us actually pay attention to that when we're so busy with, like, here you and I, EJ, always producing these podcasts, right? And we got all these team meetings and all these other things. How many of us, with all we got going on, and this is the world as a whole, not just us to this one podcast team, how many of us have time to look and say, okay, well, let's see, am I struggling with such and such anymore? No, because we probably are too busy to even really notice it. Unless it's like major, like my seizures where I know I black out, right? That's major. But like, how many of us women even realize that we still have cramps after we're not on our period?
Right. Yeah, we don't notice it because it's not an issue.
Because we only notice it when it's major.
Right, when it's an issue, when it's causing discomfort.
Right, but that doesn't mean we don't have it. Exactly, but that doesn't mean we don't have it, and maybe just now the cramp is in our lower back, and it's back pain. And it's just so minor that with how busy we stay, we don't really pay attention to it because it's not crippling and disabling. It's not disturbing and very obvious. And then there's other people that have a high tolerance for pain. So, like, unless it's just high enough that those with high tolerance can't handle it, they otherwise don't complain, and they're always in pain, just they don't complain.
Because they're so used to it. Exactly.
And I'm one of those kind.
So is my husband.
Well, you tolerate it, and you can tolerate it well, so you don't complain about it, because until it's something you can't tolerate, you usually don't complain, whether it's to the doctor, your family, whoever, right?
Exactly. That's how they found out about my lupus, is that it got to a point where I could not function. And I was like, this is not right. There has to be something causing it. Let's find out what it is. And I pushed and insisted. And so they took vial after vial after vial after vial. They probably took 8 or 10 vials of blood to do every possible blood test they could in the realm, and found that it probably was the lupus. Which thankfully is now in remission.
You know, something interesting. I know, right? I was wondering if my Asperger's was coming out of remission for the last so many months when I was like just head over waters, or waters over my head, maybe.
Yep.
Like drowning and everything we had going on. And I was like, oh my God. Remember how I was getting really irritable instead of being giggly?
And like you said, you found the right doctor, and
that's
now
what
it's
I
probably
get
your
with
allergies.
like everything's like over my head.
kind of the allergies, and you found
Well, it
something
would have been
new.
my allergies if we're talking about in March. If we're talking about in March and April, it would not have been my allergies. If you're talking about in May, then yes.
Yeah. I don't know. We had a bunch of things kicking up in March that would have been allergy oriented here in North Carolina, but so yeah.
Well, we did too, but I mean, personally, I have year-round allergies. That's why I have to take medication 365.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what's the season, even if it's indoor and it's the dust on my desk or it's the cat in my room, I'm allergic to everything. The
Mm-hmm.
dogs, the 3 dogs we have downstairs, I'm allergic to every single tree, every single plant, even grass.
Yep.
I'm allergic to everything environmental, literally.
We're just gonna wrap you in a bubble, Jen.
So I don't have a day. Am I bubble girl?
You're bubble girl.
There's a bubble boy. I must be bubble girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think it's back to you, EJ. You got anything else to say?
It's spring. That's all I got.
No, really? I never would have known. Everybody, okay, wake up from your depression. Look out, it's the sunshine. Did you realize, if this is actually true, did you realize for many of us that have depression, the one thing we can do for ourselves to gain happiness. Now, talk to your doctor about this, and I'm talking about your primary care as well as your psychiatrist. But according to my psychiatrist, one of the things we can all do is go sit in the sun with your skin exposed. I'm not talking about taking your clothes off. I'm talking about like how I have a tank top on because it's 80, 90-degree weather, so it's appropriate for this kind of clothing, and allowing my shoulders, my arms, my face, all these other areas that you see are olive are because I allow them to be exposed to the sun. Now, if you sunburn easily, you need sunscreen on to do this.
Yes.
But if you allow your body to get exposure to the sun, it causes your brain to produce happy pills, which is basically serotonin and dopamine that are your natural happy pill that your brain produces when you work out, doing physical exercise, and also when you direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Now, the darker our skin is also the longer we have to sit in that sun to get the same dosage of rays in our dopamine and serotonin in order to become happier, to help get us out of depression. And so this is one free way of coping, one free activity you can do by going in your backyard, or if you have an apartment, go sit out on your balcony, or even in the hallway if your door into your apartment is a alleyway or something like that. That's an outdoor hall as opposed to an indoor one. Even go sit there and maybe walk to the end where it's not covered by the second story or whatever story above you, but get just right there nearby home, sitting somewhere outside, even if it's in a chair or on the ground. Maybe even have a picnic on your own patio, but get out there and get sun on you. But if you're one of those that sunburns easily, you need to wear sunscreen.
Get that vitamin D.
Because those that have the sunburn the easiest are the most prone to getting skin cancer. So that's why I'm warning you, don't go without sunscreen if you are one that easy to burn. But if you're like me and you can sit out there for hours and all you do is darken up, then you don't need that sunscreen. Not to say that you can't get skin cancer if you do this too frequently, but it takes longer for you to, with olive skin or darker skin, to actually absorb the same amount of dopamine or serotonin as those that tend to be pale and easy to burn.
Namely me.
These have to do with each of us and our genes and our skin type and other things related to our genetics.
Yeah.
But there's a correlation with the lighter the skin is, the easier to and quicker to absorb enough. But also, when you have too much because you sunburn or you tan or otherwise that you darken up or your skin has some kind of reaction. But you would also know it because you probably become happier than you were when you first went outside. And that shows that you have your happy pills producing as a result of that somewhat small dose of sun. And I'm talking about like 5 or 10 minutes or even 30 minutes, but I'm not talking about hours.
And if you don't have the sunshine in your area, vitamin D, they say.
Or even, or even there's these things like this that are what they call the happy light. That's a light we can buy at the Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they produced us to react the same way to these happy lights that we do to the sun. That's what they tell us to do, whether you're in Alaska that almost never gets sun, or that it's just the winter or other seasons where your particular location at that certain point isn't getting sun. Even though, like Houston, we spend from March until December with a lot of sun.
Right.
And we only have like really 1 or 2 months that's not sunny.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the days that we have cold weather. And cold weather for us isn't cold for most people. So, like in North Carolina, you're not complaining about 50s. Here we are because we're supposed to be in the 80s or 90s.
Yep.
I mean, it's relative, right?
Very much so. Although you guys tend to get more snow than we do, even here in North Carolina.
Hey, that's because of global warming. That's not normal.
Nope, don't go there. Well, it looks like we're kind of coming up on the end of our time here. So, do you have any special announcements?
So go ahead. Back to you, EJ. As I said, now you accept it.
Well, I was going to say if you had any announcements, things that you want to remind the listeners about.
Yes, and thank you very much. So, listeners, to all of y'all out there, wherever you are, the Jaws Coffee Chat podcast featuring, this will be every other every other Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. The Afro International Film and Marketing Festival, Film Marketing and Festival, Afro International Film Market and Festival. And we are featuring them on our podcast that plays every other Friday, that is called Afro International. It's 10 a.m. Central every other Friday. We had it as of Friday, May 12th at 10 o'clock Central, and it will air again in 2 weeks from there, which is Friday, May 26th. This one will go the second time, and then the third time will be June 9th, and carrying on from there for 10 weeks. It's a 10 episode season, but each episode is 2 weeks apart. That's our latest new podcast show, but it's for the season. And we're trying to find more listeners, ask you to help share, post, repost, play it on your social media, whatever you can do to help more people find out about it. That is where we are going to have a networking event of scriptwriters, graphic designers, TV production companies, filmmakers, all kinds of different artists coming together for the purpose of coming together to produce movies and television series through different people in different particular film associated professions getting together and working together as a team, building teams, and producing more entertainment. On another topic, we also have something hot that's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is May 16th. And as of that date, I, author Jennifer A. Whitaker, will be meeting with Epic Publishing. So that could mean that you will see a lot more of my books on a lot more shelves, but it depends where you check them out. However, we will put that as a notice, and anything they do for us that's production, whether it's TV stuff or it's videos, podcasts, whatever, we will be bringing it to you here on Jaws Coffee Chat podcast, where you can listen or watch whatever that the Epic Author Publishing Company does for myself, Jennifer A. Whitaker, the author, and for the Jaws Coffee Chat team, as well as the Jen's Books and More team. If you want to find more about what I do, what we as a team author, or more about being on a podcast, please go to jensbooksandmore.com, JENNS, books, and that's AND, more, MORE.com. That's our website, and I'll leave the rest to you until you come here next time.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for us today. Thank you again to everyone who is here with us today or listening to our recordings. Our next episode of Jaws Coffee Chat Mental Health Awareness will be aired on Monday, May 22nd, 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. So we'll hope to see you there. And again, subscribe to our channels or our page, wherever you found us. Check us out on our website. And until next time, we wish you a very productive and enjoyable week. Take care, everybody.
Recording stopped.
And I think we are clear.